I'm Ryan Mallory.
I'm Jared Banry.
Welcome to the show. Today we have Sgt Venables, and he's with Medford Police Department, and he is a watch commander. And a watch commander is like the chief. When the chief's not around, Tom works over patrols. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
And I am really excited because I've known Tom since he's been a kid. And I just have to take this opportunity to say, Tom, you have a pink mask on.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
He said when you were a kid. That means you're old, right, Jared?
I'm old, yes.
Yeah, you just dated yourself. Yeah, my pink mask. Here in the last month at MPD, what we did is we kind of had a fundraiser for a charity. Real Men Wear Pink. It's a breast cancer charity. We were allowed to grow beards and mustaches and goatees, and then donate to the cause. So that's what I'm representing tonight.
Very cool. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, another reason why I was excited to have Sgt Venables here is he is a patrol supervisor, and I know that through a lot of our members who post on a regular basis, we often get a lot of questions about, where are the officers? They want to know about response times. So, Sergeant, as a patrol sergeant, how many people do you oversee?
Well, I guess it kind of depends on a nightly basis. I work graveyard, and so I work from 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. I have a team of guys right now, about 8 guys on my team right now. It just depends if someone's sick or on vacation, but it could be 7, 6, 8 guys at a night.
Okay. And usually at the start of your shift, you guys have a briefing. What's covered in briefing?
Yeah, so the way it kind of is set up is we all get to work a little early. We get on uniform, get our cars ready for the night, do a check of those cars, make sure they're functional, the lights work, sirens work, computers are working, make sure it has the firearms in it, and the tire pressure is good. And that's a really important piece of it, too. I know that kind of sounds silly, but when you're in a high-speed chase or you need to get to somewhere pretty quickly, that's an important element.
Can't have that thing pull into one side, and kind of like a pilot's flight check, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's not as probably as intensive as a pilot's checklist, but anyhow, yeah, we go through that, check our cars, and then go in and have briefing.
Is there like a mechanic, motor pool, something like that? If you guys notice something wrong, what happens to the car?
That's a good question. We contract out our services, our fleet services, I guess you'd call it, to a local facility.
Yeah.
And they perform our work for us, and they do a really good job.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, yeah, briefing. We go over, that's my time to really connect with my team, motivate them, make sure they're doing well personally, professionally. We talk about, it could be training related, as in tactics, or talking about search warrants or people that we need to find or are looking for, or it could be as simple as we go around the room and we talk about how what we're doing to manage our sleep during the day, which is an important piece of working graveyard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked graveyards before, all the way through college, mechanicking on cars and that kind of stuff, and pumping gas. And it's really hard to do my schoolwork during the day and sleep right.
Well, I tell you, when I was working graveyards, I was living on Dr. Pepper, so.
It was Pepsi for me.
Yeah. You dated yourself again, Jared.
I know.
You guys,
now it's Red Bull.
Do you guys use do most cops use some caffeine management?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we, it's kind of a staple. I'll drink a ton of coffee to stay awake during the night, to be alert. I mean, there's a difference between staying awake and really being alert. Yeah. And hypervigilant. So, we're known to drink some caffeinated beverages every once in a while.
In my industry too, computer programmers and those kind of things, they'll drink a lot of caffeine.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, when you're done with your briefing, you've covered all the general information that your troops need to know. They're assigned areas. What's that about?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have what's called an area of a responsibility, or beats. And those areas are broken down at the analytical level by people in a higher position than I. But they figure out, how many cops per, 10,000 people do we need in an area. So right now we have 7 beats, and I'll plug each one of my patrol officers into their beat for the night. And they're pretty consistent. I mean, they're assigned that beat throughout the rotation of our tenure together.
So they get to know like some of the different problems and the people and things like that in the area and build some rapport that way, I imagine.
Yeah, no, it's super important to, have your neighborhood police officer show up at the same 7-Eleven, or, if you're working during the day, having that same police officer driving around and waving at you in the neighborhood, or going to that same elementary school when they were open. And so, they really get to know the area.
It's a good feeling. That's how it was when I was a kid. We all knew the cop that regularly rolled through our neighborhood and that kind of stuff. And I don't know, you trusted him.
Yeah.
Now you say you have 7 beats. So is that 8?
Ooh.
Is that a?
Man, that's good.
Is that a rover?
That's
Is
good.
that
You're good. Yeah, you're keeping me on my toes. So if we're fully staffed and we have everybody there, and which is a good thing, and it's a good night, then I'll have that extra person. That's my corporal. So I'd consider that person kind of the infield watch commander. So they're dealing with the issues that come up in the field, and what my position is to field the complaints inside the office, approve the police reports, fill out payroll, deal with the big management incident type stuff, big incident management type stuff.
When somebody says, I want to talk to a supervisor, it's usually that corporal that rolls out there to talk to him. Yeah?
Right, yeah, and I'll send him, and he's very competent, and I really trust that person.
Yeah, nice.
And they do a really good job. So that's my 8th person that I'm normally rolling. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what are with Medford? I know that each municipality has their own unique issues. Mm-hmm. But what are some of the issues that you're kind of facing with your teams in regards to crimes or issues that the city of Medford is dealing with?
Especially on the graveyard shift. That's the interesting shift, I would imagine.
Yeah, that is. Well, as far as the graveyard shift is concerned, it's a really neat shift to be a part of, in my opinion. And that's because most of what you're dealing with is in progress things.
Yeah.
Right? So it's in progress. During the day, people wake up, they find that their garden gnome is missing from their front porch, and they'll call and report a theft, right? So in the nighttime, the things that are getting called in are in progress thefts or burglaries or eludes, domestic disturbances, and all that stuff is pretty high speed compared to taking a theft report.
I notice lots of domestic and disorderly conduct calls at night, but when I'm listening during the day, I don't hear as many of those. Yeah.
Well, and most people are pretty active during the day, either going to work or volunteering, or there's just those things are still happening.
Right.
It's just not seen as frequently.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. I try to turn the scanner on when it's a night that I want to report or I want to listen. About 11 p.m. is when I turn it on, and if I'm awake enough, it's pretty fun to listen till 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Now, on normal, if a citizen's going to call in progress or ask for police assistance, how does that work? I mean, when it comes to going through dispatch into you guys.
Yeah, we encourage people to call 911. I encourage people to call 911 when you see an emergency. And, a lot of time people have a hard time determining what an emergency is, right? So people ask me that same question, how do I know to call 911, or how do I know or if I should be calling the non-emergency number? It's difficult to differentiate. So how I describe that is basically anything that's in progress that you're seeing, that's an emergency that you think the police need to be a part of.
Yeah.
Or EMS or the fire department, call 911.
Well, it's fresh.
Right. So, and when I say in progress, that could be an in progress theft. That is
Yeah.
a crime. The police need to get there to stop it, right? And so, call us. It goes into our 911 dispatch center, staffed with some amazing individuals here in the valley. They input that information into the computer system. That information is immediately then pushed to our primary Medford Police dispatcher, or say the dispatcher is working Jackson County Sheriff's Office channel, then they'll push it to that channel, and then we're dispatched.
Now, do all calls for service come across the scanner, or do some calls for service just go into your in-car computer?
It depends on the priority. So the priority and they have a system to determine priority. And I'm not exactly sure what that system's called. I don't want to mispronounce it or guess. But it's a system where it hierarchies things. And say you see a disorderly conduct where there's a fight in progress, that would be a priority 1.
Okay.
And so, they would immediately dispatch police officers to that scene.
It could be stopped before somebody gets hurt.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's why we hustle to those things. So yeah, there's really not much of a delay. And that's why I think, I talk to business owners quite a bit about the difference between calling 911 or pushing maybe that panic button underneath the desk of theirs, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're at the bank or you're at a doctor's office and something's going on, you need to push a button to get the police there. Well, just remember that's a third-party provider.
Right.
And they push the button, that goes to their third-party provider. That third-party provider then reviews that and calls our dispatch, and then now that dispatch is talking to that third-party provider for a couple minutes. So it takes, there's a significant delay.
More time.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just call 911.
2 years ago, I read nationally, response time for law enforcement is over 15 minutes. Now, that includes some very rural areas in the United States.
Yeah.
But when I looked at Medford Police Department, it was short. It was like a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's what I really like working in the city of Medford, because we have great amount of resources and we have people that are very passionate about what they do and wanting to help people. And so, you just don't see the things you might see in like the big cities where you have burnout cops maybe.
Right.
That are just taking their time to get to that fight call. And I'm not saying that happens here. It could happen here every once in a while. But, we really try hard to provide really good customer service, because that's our currency. I mean, trust is what drives our ability to interact with the community on a positive basis.
Yeah, for sure. I see it and I hear it, and I hear, when there's an urgent call going on, I hear officer after officer report where they are and that they're en route in their ETA.
Yeah.
So people know when they're getting there.
Yeah. And that can be a blessing and a curse. With the development of, the things like the scanner, the digital scanner.
Yeah.
When a call comes out, say in the middle of the night, and, it's a theft from a car lot or a trailer. A trailer's getting stolen, as an example. Well, they're using the scanner app
Yeah.
too.
I mean, if I can buy a $50 radio and a free app, so can the criminals. Yeah.
So, what I will say about that is there is a delay on those scanners, and I think that is put in there for a legitimate purpose.
It's 3 to 4 minutes delay between the real scanner traffic over my real radio and what comes out on the Broadcastify app. And Broadcastify is the supplier of all of those feeds.
Okay.
Radio Reference is the company, and all the other ones, Police Radio, there's lots of different apps. They're all getting that feed.
I did not know that.
From Broadcastify. That's why I always use Broadcastify. There's no middleman.
Wow, I did not know that.
That delay is good. I like that delay. And the other thing is if I'm looking, I can't listen to you guys on the radio from my house in Talent.
Really?
One, it's too far away, and I have to have too expensive a scanner because you guys are scrambled. So I can listen to it on the app. But if I'm listening to Jackson County Sheriff's Department, I can rehear it 3 minutes later. And I'm hard of hearing. I wear hearing aids sometimes, so sometimes that gets me information that I missed the first time around.
Yeah. So that will sometimes hinder our ability to catch people.
Yeah.
because we might be more than 3 or 4 minutes away. But we really try hard not to. So the dispatchers and I, when I say I, our team and most patrol teams kind of have an unsaid procedure. If it's something in the middle of the night that they believe is a priority, they'll give it to us via the computer.
Yeah.
And then we'll see it, and it won't come out over the scanner. Then we have a better opportunity to catch the people.
Yeah, I think I know where there's a neighborhood with. I have several chat groups that are different neighborhoods that have a drug house in their hood, and they have cameras and they share video between each other and watch. And they're looking for the details to be able to provide the police because they want the drug house out of there. And one of those specifically, they have a scanner. Every time a neighbor calls, when things are going down, they see them clear out.
Yep.
Hard to catch those ones.
So, but we do our best, and we don't get discouraged, and we come up with different ways to catch the criminals that are victimizing society.
Yeah.
So it's just adapt and overcome.
Absolutely.
But no, that's kind of how it works when you call dispatch, and it gets to our cars.
Now, we've all heard the term "stack it."
Oh yeah.
What is
Stack that call.
Stack that call.
Stack that call. Yeah. That's been a new development in the last few years in regards to stacking calls, right? And it's a prioritizing type thing when it comes to calls for service. And let's say more of a priority call comes in. And an example would be you're taking a theft report at a local business, and say an in-progress burglary is occurring at another business in the middle of the night. The priority would be to get to the in-progress burglary, and then you could come back later and handle that theft report because the person's gone. You can, maybe you're getting fingerprints, and you can do all that when you get back.
Prioritization, like we all have to do. Put out the biggest fire first.
So the common radio lingo, I guess, would be considered stack it. So it stacks in your queue, and then you like a computer, you find it again, click on it, and it pops the details back up onto your screen.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And a tactical channel.
Yeah.
So when it gets pretty sensitive, usually we get quite a bit of information on the call, and sometimes it's a switch to a tactical channel. Why is that? What is it? I think I understand, but I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah. Last night I used it to figure out where my coworker and I were going to get lunch at 2 a.m. But
No, that's 3, right?
yeah,
Three?
Stack 3. Yeah.
A good private channel.
Yeah.
Car to car?
It's basically car-to-car type talk.
Oh, okay.
Where you don't. Because we know that everybody's listening.
Sure.
And you don't necessarily need to know that I'm going to go have lunch at Muchas Gracias at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So
I remember when Skinner Group first started, I would look at Broadcastify, and there would be someplace between 4 and 20 people watching, and now there's pretty much always 70 to over 100 people watching.
Yep. Yeah.
So
that's good.
Got a lot of advertising, but also the lunch menu can't be on the radio.
But in all seriousness, we use our private channel for tactical type talk, where we're going to move up on a car and where people are going to be positioned and using cover and concealment type things. And we need to make sure that isn't being broadcasted, because that suspect could have the app on their phone and be listening to what we're about to do.
Yeah.
So it's important that we have some privacy in those certain situations.
That's where I've seen it. It was, calls that come in, and then now you've set a perimeter and something else is going to go on, and I hear somebody say switch to tactical, and primary gets opened back up to other calls. Yep. Sometimes the primary channel you guys talk on, it gets locked down for a fire, for something. Mm-hmm. That's a good question as well. I like that. So that would be called an emergency type. You'll hear the beeping, right? So yes.
They'll hear the beeping over the radio channel, and that will basically mean unless you need to talk or you're part of this incident, you don't get on the radio.
Yeah.
That's what that means. And
That's code 33.
Yes, code 33. And then you'll hear maybe some beeping associated with that.
Yep.
And really that is meant for the people maybe searching a building where there's an armed suspect, or, they need to be able to use the radio at a moment's notice.
Yeah, and not have, like sometimes when I'm listening, if it's multiple calls coming in, especially on Broadcastify where it combines multiple agencies' calls, it's like a cluster for me to figure out what's going on if there's multiple calls going on at the same time. That's one skill that law enforcement has that I really respect. You guys can make out everything that's going across the radio, and I have a hard time with it sometimes.
Well, it's like a kind of a second language. I mean, and it's like, when you have a young kiddo and they're growing up and learning how to talk, and not everybody can understand them, but you can tell what they need and what they're saying because you're around them all the time. It's the same kind of premise.
It becomes more second nature after a while. Yeah.
I mean, I just hear it and I understand it. I would correlate it to a second language. Yeah.
Totally.
Now, another thing that we often see on the scanner page is everybody loves a pursuit. Everybody loves it.
They're pretty popular calls.
And one of the admin team will get on. We'll give tactical delays, and we'll start doing these broadcasts, and everybody's paying attention. And then we'll get
Just went by my street.
Yep. 6 cops just went by, and then every once in a while we'll get a discontinue. And
that's my job. Yeah.
Yep, that's why I'm asking you, because we always get these comments. Why?
Yeah.
Why are they discontinuing? I mean, so as a supervisor, when you hear your boys out there chasing somebody, what?
Why and what?
Why, what, when?
It's just, I can go through the policy, and I can give you a long dissertation of why those get canceled. But the best way I can describe it is this: if a police officer is pulling over somebody for a broken taillight, and the operator of that vehicle decides to flee using that car, they normally don't do it in a very careful manner, right? They're normally driving pretty recklessly and endangering the public. And would you want your family killed in an intersection because someone got a little froggy, decided they didn't want to stop for the police over a broken taillight? And you really have to weigh that risk as a law enforcement professional and make sure that it's more of a risk for the person to get away than it is the risk to the public to pursue it.
You have kids, family,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you often, like, in your head, what would I want for my family?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
See, man, I respect that.
Yeah,
because-
and I mean, and so I take that same sentiment and I employ that to the community, and I say, okay, if I don't want my family getting killed in an intersection because the police and this person are running and driving too fast and running red lights, all for naught. But there are times when we have to. There are times where it's important to get people stopped, and we will pursue them.
If that was a drive-by shooter, that's a little bit different because now we have somebody that most likely is going to hurt somebody else in the near future anyway if he doesn't get stopped.
Yeah, and where it really gets tricky, this is the tricky part as a person in my position, is trying to figure out, okay, did that person not stop? And the officer tried to stop it because it had a broken taillight, but the person's also intoxicated. Right, we got to get people like that off the street too, but you just don't know that at the time unless they're displaying that, and you have previous information.
Sure.
So,
If the car's registered to them, then you can see records and things like that and know the possibility of intoxicated, drunk, high, and 7 warrants type of people. Yeah.
and and even the warrants nowadays, basically what that is, the way I think about warrants. Are the judge wants to see that person. They didn't come to their scheduled court appearance, and I'm the person that takes them to court.
Yeah.
I'm the courier of that person. So,
makes sense.
And so a lot of times those aren't worth endangering the public. So, but I agree, man. I love chasing people in police cars. It's not. I mean, it's but we if we did everything based on our emotions,
We want everybody to go home safe, even the criminal, and even
Absolutely.
you guys, and definitely the public.
Yeah. So
See, but even having that unknown factor with the elude, okay, because your officer is given the speeds, the road conditions, talking about the traffic, so it's giving you the information to make your decision.
correct.
But you know that he's heading out rural.
Yep.
Do you have a tendency of allowing those things to go a little bit longer because of the fact that? But if he's heading downtown toward the office,
Yeah.
probably gonna be a little.
That's a huge factor, right? But I also have to take into consideration the person driving the car. So the person fleeing from us is what I'm referring to. If we are pushing them into a rural area, speeds get higher. The longer pursuit lasts, the more likely it ends in a crash. It is statistically how it works. So our job as law enforcement is not to pursue, but it's to stop it. And you'll hear us use tactics like stop sticks, right? We use stop sticks to
Love to report on the stop sticks. You do, Jared? That's a fun part for us. And just being like reporters that listen. Like, they got the sticks out at exit 21. I can't quite say it yet. Oh, they got him. Oh, they got him. Yeah. Good spike.
Yeah, good spike. And I'll tell you, there's nothing more
football game, man.
nothing more fun than doing that.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And just watching them drive
I
over those
thought
stop
about
sticks.
buying one and trying it out because it seemed fun, and then I realized that it's not legal for me to buy those.
Yeah. Well, you can. They have other things like nails, buckets of nails and stuff. Right? But the thing with stop sticks, it's different than just a puncture. It's actually a puncture that's hollow. The tool is a hollow spike. So when it goes up into the tires, it just releases air. It doesn't explode it. So that's how we safely slow down a vehicle.
Yeah, because you don't want them to just roll immediately because you popped the tire.
No, yeah.
It's all about getting them stopped safely.
Exactly. And, we'll use the pursuit intervention technique, the pit maneuver. That's one of my favorites. I've used that a few times. And, those are done on major events where we need to get people stopped. And
the shooters,
well, and even, yes, but also just pursuits that are going too long.
Some of them go through multiple counties, and I notice they often end in Jackson County, and that's a compliment.
Yeah.
I hear them coming down Roseburg, and then
I-5.
Everybody's waiting for them.
Yeah, don't come into Medford. Don't.
Go around. I suggest Highway 97.
Yeah.
So
they're good over there too, though. So
Yeah.
out of curiosity, what's kind of the line for that? So, say somebody's flooring it down the freeway going like 120. I assume you would chase them, right?
At 120 miles an hour.
Yeah.
No, that's too fast for me.
That's too fast.
Yeah, personally. And the great thing is they've put me in a position to decide whether or not my personal feeling about a situation.
Good.
Yeah. So that's kind of how that works. Anyways, if someone's going 120 miles an hour and they decide to run from us,
You're going to pick them up on a turn someplace.
they're making poor life decisions, and they're going to continue to do that going forward, and eventually they'll catch up.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
You personally had to mash up or got mashed up?
Police cars?
Any cars?
Oh man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It happens, huh?
I'm surprised. I don't want to really talk about this, but we will. No. I've crashed my fair share of cars, especially when I was younger, and I would drive too fast sometimes, and I'd take a curb maybe a little too quick, and break a tire axle, or I'm sorry, just an axle.
Yeah.
And that, you learn from those things, you get disciplined for those things. And you either, if you figure it out, that's great. You move on and have a successful career. If you don't figure it out, you find a different career. So, but I've been looking at my computer. I'm human. I make mistakes. I've rear-ended a car. And so, it's eventually it's going to happen if you're driving 12 hours a day in a police car, very, very defensively, and you're going places quickly. It's going to happen.
I put a brand new patrol car in a ditch.
I wasn't looking to get. I wasn't looking to get you on the psychologist couch at all. I was just wondering if you've ever crashed one in an elude.
Oh, dang it.
With thanks for the info. Appreciate it.
See?
We can edit
Police
this part out.
officers are human.
Absolutely.
All right. Have I crashed a police car? Like I've done a pit maneuver.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done that a few
Yeah,
times.
that's mashing one up.
Yep. So I'd come up to the side of the car, match their speed, input steering, push the side of their car. It's just physics.
So it's just a.
It's just physics. Yep. It's just they'll be going. I'll match their speed. I push. They go. And it's supposed to kill the engine. Doesn't happen all the time. But
In newer cars, it probably does.
yeah, they have different type. I mean, anytime a car is going sideways at a quick speed, I think the internal computer system shuts down components and gas and stuff like that. So
Makes sense.
anyhow,
And then after you spin one, there's what goes on then?
well, hopefully they get stopped.
Like I notice sometimes on videos I see you like trying to block them in so they can't get going
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, because that's again the goal, right? We want them stopped,
Yeah.
so it stops the danger to the community. And what happens after that is we do what's called a felony car stop. You guys have probably heard of that term before, or high risk traffic stop, where we'll stay back at our cars and give verbal commands to the driver to exit and come back to us.
You know, I make all those graphics that we put on the posts, and I have one from Grand Theft Auto, honestly, that I use for felony traffic stop. It's a couple cops holding guns on a car, and somebody opened the door slowly.
So I mean, that's a real. I mean, it's funny because if there's a felony involved,
Yeah.
it's felony traffic stop. So, you know, just someone that has a broken taillight getting pulled over, they haven't committed a felony, so we're not.
Fix a ticket or
Yeah.
infraction. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why they call them felony car stops.
Makes sense. Okay, Jared and I have backed away during Rona days. We like to do this so that you guys can actually meet the guests we have on the show. So we have some good conversations, and this is Sergeant Tom Venables, and he is in charge of patrols late at night. He's like the chief when the chief isn't around.
Yeah, I kind of call it the de facto.
The de facto chief. So, what kind of stuff made you get into law enforcement, Tom?
Well, you know, fortunately I've been involved in. Well, I was attracted to the nobility of policing back in when I was young, and I was in high school. We had a school resource officer that was assigned to my high school, and the guy was previous military, super relatable, super nice, and I just was drawn to what he was doing, and so that's what kind of attracted me to law enforcement when I was young. So I joined the Explorer Post at the Medford Police Department when I was 16 years old, and I started going on ride-alongs with police officers. I turned 18 or 19 and was still involved in the Explorer Post, and I applied for what they call a community service officer. And community service officers back then served subpoenas, and they're the cars with the yellow lights on top that help police officers with tasks that might bog them down from investigating other crimes.
The average property infraction and notice needed and those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that for a bit, and when I turned 21, I was hired by the Medford Police Department. After an arduous process, we, the process is still the same nowadays, but you do a written test and you do a panel interview. And if you do okay on those, and you do what's called the ORPAT, and that's a physical agility type test, you pass that, and then they determine if they want to offer you the job. If they do offer you the job, then you go through a psychological with a doctor and also a background. So it's a pretty long process. It took about a year to get through.
And that's even before they send you up to Salem to Police Academy, right?
Yeah. And back then, I probably went to the same academy Jared did back in Monmouth, and mine was 10 or 12 weeks, but now it's 16 weeks and it's in Salem. That's how I got into the law enforcement field. And again, I come back to the nobility of it. It's really, I have a unique opportunity to affect people on a different level than maybe your average everyday person. Me being able to walk down the railroad tracks at 2 a.m. to contact somebody that's freezing and has lit a fire to stay warm. I mean, that contact, that human contact I get to have with that person is unique compared to most people.
Yeah.
And so, and I won't lie. I mean, and we talked about eludes this time. And that's fun. I mean,
Sure.
Driving fast and those kind of things are fun. But the legacy stuff that you really allows you to receive fulfillment in this job is those kind of unique opportunities. So
Knowing that contact you made a difference helps you sleep sound.
Yeah, no, and it's cool. It's kind of trickled down into my family. My brother works for the Medford Police Department now. He's younger than I am, and he got to kind of watch what I got into, and we were transplants into the Rogue Valley from the Tri-Cities up in the Washington area when I was like 9 or 10, and we just never have left. It's a beautiful area. So
That's my story.
Yeah.
I moved here 28 years ago, and to go to SOSC. Not SOU.
Yeah.
I employed one of the first SOU grads.
Wow.
But I didn't want to go. I was going to go to the big city, and you know what? This is large enough to make a living, and it's like where I grew up. It's 5 minutes to the mountains, 5 minutes to everything's close and beautiful, and the people are really nice. So as much as I harp on crime and things like that, I just kind of started feeling before we started reporting on things all the time that I didn't travel in any of those circles. I didn't know any of those things that were going on. I didn't know people were ODing. Right. I didn't know identities were being stolen. I didn't know that there were piles of drugs moving through town and things like that. They may have been. I know it's gotten worse. Mm-hmm. But I thought, that's shocking. People should know about that. The police should have their support. The city councils, the county commissioners, they should have the citizens' support, and they can't get support in fixing those problems unless the citizens know they exist. And
this is a great platform to get that information out to our community, and we appreciate it. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention before we ended, and I wanted to give a shout out to the fire personnel during the Alameda fire. Wow. And a lot of those guys are my friends, and they did some amazing work, heroic work. And when I think of being heroic, and my perspective is different. People might say that what we do as police officers is heroic, and I don't disagree. But the work that they put in to stop and that fire that was unstoppable was pretty. It's something I've never seen or heard about, and to have friends that I, talk to on a regular basis tell me about some of the stories that came out of there.
My address is on Talon Avenue, and I got a block from my house. Yeah, and firefighters saved my house, helicopters and planes, and cops, not just talent cops, because this is a small police force and getting smaller. Right. Cops cleared my neighborhood. I mean, you guys, firefighters, people don't realize I was standing out on the street trying to direct traffic. There was so much traffic at the bottom of my street, and I was still staying. Me and Addison were still staying, but the amount of care that I saw go into that is, there is no thank you that I can offer.
I know. It's pretty amazing. So anyways, I just wanted to make sure that my fire buddies know that we appreciate them and the police force. And, that's not something that has always existed. I mean, we never, I shouldn't say we never, since I've became a police officer back in the early 2000s, that relationship has increasingly gotten better. Yeah. And, there's always been a little bit of a rivalry between the two departments. But, now it's neat. We'll stop when we're working on shift and go maybe have dinner with them at the station and
brought you guys further together, huh?
Yeah. So it's been neat. And I just wanted to make sure that they know that we appreciate them.
Oh, and I appreciate you guys. You guys came and patrolled my town when, people were wanting to steal it blind after the fires. Jeez.
Who would have thought people would do that?
I saw regularly Medford police cars rolling through my town because our poor chief, Jennifer, she was sleeping on a cot Coach was working 24 hours. You cared that much. But I really appreciated you guys coming to where I live and helping out after that.
Yeah. No, you have an amazing police force.
Yeah.
Chief Snook is a great person, and she's the right person for that job. So
She's a rock star.
yeah, we're happy to help.
I'm going to start asking this question before we sign off when we have a guest. Tell us your favorite hobby.
Hobby.
Yep. What's something you like to do?
Oh, man.
If you have little kids, that's probably the hobby these
I do
days.
have little kids.
Yeah.
And with homeschooling, that takes up a lot of my time, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Man, I really enjoy
Teaching.
And helping and watching kiddos' brains process things for the first time, and in a way parents don't normally get to. Right? And you get to see them before school and after school, and you get to see them plan, but see them sit down and work on projects and stuff like that is pretty fulfilling. What I like to do for me, for Tom, I like to tinker with cars and trucks.
Yeah,
That's my thing.
I grew up doing
and I'm
that.
not good at it, but I like doing it, and I guess that's all that matters.
Yeah, right? We're all a little shade tree mechanic, right?
Yep, that's me.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll sign off. You want to sign us off?
Yeah. Thanks for having us, and hope to see you all out there soon. If you do see us out there, any Medford police officer or any police officer in Jackson County, make sure you wave with all 5 fingers, and we'll be happy to return the favor. Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show, man.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scanner Group Crowdsourced Crime and Safety Podcast with Ryan Mallory and Jared Banry from ThiefHunter Labs. Make sure to subscribe today for notifications about the next show. Visit us at www.thiefhunterlabs.com or on Facebook as Thief Hunter Labs in the search bar.